A decision that changed everything. 1936. January 1936. Springfield Armory, Massachusetts. Inside one of America's oldest military workshops, Army officials finalized a decision that would quietly reshape how wars were fought. The weapon placed on the standardization list that month was not revolutionary because of its appearance. It was revolutionary because of what it allowed a single infantryman to do. The rifle was designated United States Rifle, caliber .30, M1, later known simply as the M1 Garand. For the first time in modern history, a major world power officially equipped its infantry with a semi-automatic service rifle. One pull of the trigger, one shot, and then, without touching the bolt, the rifle was instantly ready to fire again. It did not mean America instantly replaced every older rifle. Factories needed time. Training took time. Supply chains moved slowly. When war finally erupted in the Pacific, many American and Filipino troops still carried bolt-action Springfields. But once the M1 Garand arrived at the front lines in serious numbers, the balance of infantry combat tilted sharply. Within 6 years of its adoption, armies that had dismissed semi-automatic rifles as impractical watched their soldiers fall at alarming rates. The rifle did more than improve American firepower. It changed the nature of infantry combat itself. The problem no army had solved. To understand why the M1 Garand mattered, we have to go back to the First World War. In 1918, American soldiers fought with the M1903 Springfield, a precise, dependable bolt-action rifle. It was accurate. It was well made. And it had a fatal limitation shared by nearly every infantry rifle of its era. After every shot, the soldier had to lift the bolt, pull it back, push it forward, lock it down, reacquire the target. Even under ideal conditions, a trained rifleman could fire 10 to 15 aimed shots per minute. Against machine guns, that wasn't enough. World War I proved that advancing across open ground under enemy fire was catastrophic. Machine guns dominated the battlefield. Artillery suppressed movement. Infantry assaults stalled and bled. Machine guns delivered firepower, but they were heavy, crew-served weapons. They could not move quickly with attacking infantry. What armies needed was a rifle that allowed individual soldiers to maintain high, sustained fire without losing their shooting position. The concept already existed. Semi-automatic rifles had been experimented with since the late 19th century. But every attempt failed for the same reasons. Too complicated, too fragile, too expensive, too unreliable in mud, dust, and cold. No nation had cracked the engineering puzzle. Until one man did. The immigrant who solved the problem. The man who gave the United States its defining infantry rifle was not born American. Jean Cantius Garand was born on January 1, 1888, in Saint-Rémy, Quebec. He was one of 12 children in a French-Canadian family. Life was hard, work was constant, and opportunity was limited. In 1899, at just 11 years old, Garand immigrated to the United States with his family. After his mother passed away, he settled in Connecticut and went to work in a textile mill. He started at the bottom, sweeping floors. But Garand watched machines. He listened. He learned. He taught himself machining while simultaneously learning English. Metalworking became his language. By 1920, Garand was a U.S. citizen. A year earlier, on November 4, 1919, he had joined Springfield Armory as a civilian engineer. What followed was nearly 2 decades of frustration, failure, and refinement. His earliest rifle designs used primer-actuated blowback systems. They functioned, but inconsistently. Dirt, heat, and variable ammunition exposed their weaknesses. Garand kept refining. The real breakthrough came in 1930. On April 12, 1930, Garand patented a gas-operated mechanism that finally solved the reliability problem. Instead of relying on recoil or primers, the rifle tapped a small amount of expanding gas from the barrel after firing. That gas pushed a piston connected to an operating rod. The operating rod rotated and unlocked the bolt, extracted the spent cartridge, chambered a new round, and locked again, all in a fraction of a second. The result was a rifle that stayed sealed against dirt, functioned across temperature extremes, handled powerful ammunition, required minimal manual input. This system would become the backbone not only of the M1 Garand, but of future American rifles for decades. Still, Garand had one final obstacle. Competition. Trials, politics, and redesign. The Army tested Garand's rifle against a rival design, the Pedersen rifle. Initially, both rifles were chambered in a smaller caliber. But problems quickly emerged with the Pedersen system. It required waxed ammunition, which was unacceptable in muddy trenches and tropical climates. Its action exposed internal components when open, allowing dirt and debris to enter. It used more parts and cost more to manufacture. By early 1932, evaluators recommended Garand's rifle. Then the process stalled. General Douglas MacArthur, serving as Army Chief of Staff, personally intervened. He refused to approve a new caliber, pointing to massive stockpiles of existing .3006 ammunition. Garand had to redesign his rifle, again. He adapted the entire system to handle the full power .3006 cartridge. The result was heavier, stronger, and even more robust. On January 9, 1936, the rifle was officially standardized. The United States Army now had the most advanced infantry rifle on Earth. What the M1 could do. The specifications justified the effort. The M1 Garand fired the .3006 Springfield, launching a 150-grain bullet at approximately 2,800 feet per second. Muzzle energy exceeded 2,600 foot-pounds. Effective range for the average soldier reached 400 to 450 yards. The rifle measured just over 43 inches, with a 24-inch barrel, and weighed about 9.5 pounds unloaded. But the defining feature wasn't size or power. It was rate of fire. A trained soldier could fire 40 to 50 aim shots per minute, not theoretical cycling speed, but real, repeatable combat fire. Because the rifle reloaded itself, soldiers stayed on target. They didn't break cheek weld. They didn't lose sight picture. They maintained pressure. This wasn't about turning riflemen into machine gunners. It was about changing the tempo of combat. The clip and the ping. The M1 fed from an 8-round EN block clip, inserted from the top. Once the final round fired, the empty clip ejected automatically. The bolt locked open. The rifle was instantly ready to reload. A practiced reload took 2 to 3 seconds. The system was mechanically simple and remarkably durable. From gas port to bolt rotation to clip ejection, the rifle continued working in mud, sand, snow, and saltwater. Contrary to popular myth, the distinctive metallic ping did not doom soldiers. Battlefield noise drowned it out, and reload windows were extremely brief. Later surveys confirmed soldiers preferred the sound because it signaled a completed reload. America builds at scale. Early production was slow. In 1937, Springfield Armory produced about 10 rifles per day. Then war approached. By January 1942, daily output exploded. Production surged into the thousands per day. At peak, American factories produced nearly 4,000 rifles every 24 hours. Winchester joined production under contract. By the end of its service life, over 5.4 million M1 Garands had been manufactured. The cost per rifle hovered around $80 to $90, but the real achievement was speed. No other nation matched that industrial output. Baptism by fire. The M1 Garand fired its first shots in combat in the Philippines, December 1941. Not every soldier trusted it at first. Veterans complained it wasted ammunition. Marines clung to Springfield tradition. Some early users traded them away. Combat corrected those doubts quickly. In the Pacific, Japanese forces reportedly believed Americans carried machine guns for every soldier. Banzai charges collapsed under concentrated semi-automatic fire. At Saipan in July 1944, thousands of attackers ran headlong into American lines. The result was devastating. Late-war Japanese doctrine quietly abandoned mass charges. Europe and validation. In Europe, the M1 proved itself from North Africa to Normandy to the Bulge. On D-Day, tens of thousands of American troops landed with Garands sealed in waterproof covers. Paratroopers dropped with rifles broken down in containers. Veterans repeatedly testified to the rifle's reliability. Compared to the German Kar 98K, the difference was overwhelming. German riflemen fired slower, reloaded slower, and lost firing position after every shot. Attempts to counter the advantage came too late. The G43 appeared in 1943, but production never caught up. German assessments admitted it fell short of the American design. Japan's copy, the Type 4, barely progressed beyond prototypes. Career and legacy. The M1 remained the standard rifle through the Korean War, where freezing temperatures tested every weapon. The Garand passed. In 1958, it was replaced by the M14, which directly inherited Garand's gas system and rotating bolt. More than 40 nations adopted the rifle. Surplus examples remain in civilian hands through official programs. General George S. Patton famously called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. John Garand never earned royalties. He worked for the government. The rifle belonged to the nation. He retired in 1953 after 34 years at Springfield Armory. When asked about compensation, he simply said he was proud to have served his adopted country. That country, in return, armed millions of young Americans with a rifle that reshaped warfare. Not through excess, but through engineering.